Yo, what's up guys, my name is Nick and welcome to part 10 of our MyTeam journey. Today we are here in Silverstone. But before we get into the weekend, please subscribe and like. It really means a lot to me if you will do that right now. But here we are then, getting some activities done as usual. We have 1 week between the two races, so that gives us some extra time to do our activities. And of course, looking at the performance index, you can see we are worse than Aston Martin, but better than Williams. So let's just try and do some upgrades because we really need those. As you can see, we are looking between all the upgrades that we can do. Of course, we only have 1954 resource points, so we won't be doing much of them in this episode. As you can see, a major engine power, it comes on right before the French Grand Prix, so hopefully we will get that one done, as we also do a minor front downforce, which will also get in time for the French Grand Prix. As you can see, the resource points, another 1k is in our bag, as the team acclaim is going up, which leads to giving us level 10 actually in the team acclaim. So we will be getting a new sponsor next weekend, or next episode as I should say. But just let's go into qualifying then. You can see we are here in Silverstone, of course, with Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel, and also the Lewis Hamilton straight. I don't know what the smoke is at the front of our car. Let's just hope that doesn't forecast our weekend, of course, because we don't want any problems with our car today. A penalty warning once again. This time I do know that we get a penalty, of course. It's a new component, but our old component was already in the yellow range, and we don't really trust that, as once they get another color, as you can see, the red one that have blown up already, those are two failures we've had earlier this season. But once they are changing color, you can see the performance just dropping. Doesn't matter which component it is. But let's get into a lap of Liam Lawson actually. We haven't done this earlier this season, but let's just see how he does this here. As he is coming through the, sector 1 actually quite smoothly, as he is an AI. Nothing much to say here. Actually, I'm just looking at his racing line a little bit to get some information on what our car is doing best. Once again, he is an AI, so all AIs will drive mostly the same, but you never know if something happens. It's really good to see that he has some pace at the moment. Of course, you guys don't see the timing screen, but I saw this when I was recording this video actually, and I'm skipping the straights just because there is nothing helpful about those in this video, of course, or at least not in this lap, as it's just going straight on. Coming to the end of this lap, you can see that we are on the Hamilton straight, and he puts in a 129.5. And let's just look where that puts him. Actually, it is in P13. Of course, a lot of drivers don't, or haven't set a time yet. So now it's our turn actually to try and get us up into Q2 or maybe even Q3. Of course, Silverstone is a heavily AI track where they are a lot more OP than some other tracks, of course. Hopefully, it doesn't give us too much of a negative placement, of course, but I did cancel the first lap as I thought it wasn't good enough. But then in the second lap, Lance Stroll actually got in our way, as he didn't want to leave the racing line. And coming to the end of this lap, here we are then coming to the last corner. As you can see, we went a little bit wide and had a little log up. And this lap just wasn't great overall. I was quite frustrated by Stroll, just because he I lost us about 3 or 4 tenths, so I didn't want to help him, of course. I was so angry that I did this. Yeah, not really proud of it at this moment. But looking at the qualifying results, for qualifying 1 of course, is Hamilton on top with Verstappen in P2. Nothing much that gives me something like, oh, this is a surprise. The pace isn't really there, not for me and not for Liam, as normally he can get close to the Q2 timing mark, but he was 4 tenths off at this point.
Welcome along then to Great Britain and the great Silverstone circuit for today's Grand Prix. The 3.6 miles of Silverstone circuit in Great Britain is hallowed ground to the Formula One faithful. We have 18 corners that wrap around this former World War II airbase and some good passing opportunities at the end of the DRS zones. So with the race not far away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. An immense lap from Carlos Sainz yesterday puts him in pole position, and it's Charles Leclerc in P2. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Hamilton, Norris, George Russell and Verstappen, Perez, Ricciardo, Bottas and Kevin Magnussen, Mick Schumacher, Fernando Alonso, Yuki Tsunoda and Vettel, Joe, Stroll, Pierre Gasly and Alex Albon, Liam Lawson, Latifi, Ocon and the engineer. With preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track. Anthony Davidson joins me once again in the commentary box. Ant, it's fantastic to have you with us here, but I'm curious, as a man with experience out on the track, how do you stop those pre-race nerves from becoming overwhelming when you're lining up on the grid?
Well, I imagine they'll be starting to feel the adrenaline as they anticipate the rundown into turn 1, a bit like preparing to go into battle. The unknown situation will bring nerves, but that's a good thing. It will keep them focused on the moment and on their surroundings as we build towards the start of the Grand Prix.
Alright, and here we are at the start of our Grand Prix, of course. The 5 lines are out and we are underway, starting behind Latifi and Ocon in P22 with the 10 place grid penalty. Of course, we qualified in that position, so nothing happened, as we need to correct the car almost going into the back of Ocon. But now looking down the inside to have a little bit of a dive bomb coming to these corners, which you can see from the replay camera. We go around the outside of Esteban Ocon. Now in P20 we are behind our teammate. He didn't go up or down in the standings in this race so far. Having a little look down the inside of this corner at the end of the straight, but nothing there. Maybe going around the outside here, but his car just has the better traction. Of course, it's the same machinery, but he has the racing line, which is always faster than a overtaking line. As we almost collide with our teammates, we managed to turn right a little bit to go out of our way. Of course, this allows Ocon to go past us, and Latifi having a look down our inside, but we managed to clear him off. So he doesn't overtake us, of course. In lap 3 we are 1 lap later, and you can see the gap to Ocon has already grown to over 1 second. This means that we don't get any DRS as it has been enabled. We have a lot of energy, as Mark said. We have a little bit of a defending line, of course. The TV is still 3 tenths behind us, and I don't see anything happen. But in the next lap he is overtaking us, of course, with a better exit from that corner. You can see side by side we try to defend from him as the outside turns into the inside for the next corner, which gives us the opportunity to fight back coming into Cop's corner. Then he is quite close. Hopefully he doesn't become a silly person who tries to overtake here down the inside and then getting understeer. We don't want that this race. As you can see, is once again trying to overtake us, but now we have a little gap to him of over 3/10. The gap to our teammates in front is 4 seconds. He is also falling back from the racing group that goes from P19 all the way up to P6 for now. As you can see, Latifi has overtaken us going down the inside at these last 2 corners, but we need to make a different line work, but that just doesn't work, of course. Now in lap 6 we are back in P22 where we started, of course. Let's just see what we can do compared to Latifi in lap 7. You can see I am holding on to his car as much as I can. We try to do some overtakes, of course, but none of them work as we just don't have that much pace advantage over the Williams car at the moment in the development index. Early on this episode you could see that we were marginally faster than Latifi. Now we are in lap 8, so we are skipping some laps, of course, as we go down the inside actually. And you can just see it's already a 10-second gap to Albon, but we failed to hit our braking points and we had a little bit of a log up, as we can see in a replay right now. Coming to the replay, you can see we try to brake on the curves, which doesn't work as well. Here is another onboard, and that gives us a log up, which gives Latifi the opportunity to overtake us and try to make a gap, but we managed to come back in lap 11 as we are now going into the pit actually, so it doesn't matter too much. Just trying to see if we can do something later on in this race, as we are still not at the halfway point coming out of the pits. Russell is in front of us, of course. He has also already pitted and is 22 seconds in front of us actually. With this year's regulations we still have cold tires, even though we are almost at tops. Our front tires aren't fully up to temperature yet, as not Latifi but Lawson is coming into the pits. We are looking to speed up our car just to see what the gap will be between the two of us, as he is already out of the pits and we still need to come into the next lap, so we are quite far behind with a gap over 13 seconds, so that undercut didn't work as well as I hoped it did. A lap later Latifi is coming into the pits. Of course he is behind our teammates luckily, but once again the undercut didn't work and Latifi's overcut worked better than it should have. So now we are in a little bit of a gap, 5 seconds behind Latifi, lap 14, so we are past the halfway point of this race. As you can see, 1.5 laps later the gap is shrinking a little bit, half a second of the time that it was when Latifi came out of the pits. Of course he had some cold tires, but that doesn't mean that he would be that much slower. Lap 17 it is already, so skipping some laps as nothing happened. Hopefully nothing too much will happen, of course, but the gap is maintaining between me and Latifi.
Okay, stand by, we see a problem our end and we're looking into it.
Oh, you've gotta be kidding me, right? Like, we have already had 2 failures this season. We are in in race 10, coming to Luffields now it is. But we just try to hold on our car as much as possible. Of course we don't have the pace this race. As you can see we are quite far behind the pack. But it is a engine failure once again. Not good for us. It's the ICE this time. And that means we have to retire for the 3rd time since this season because of a engine failure. So we need to improve our cars, of course, in durability, but also in performance. So we won't DNF that much for the rest of the season, of course. But yeah, not happy with this result.
Great effort there from Ferrari to take the victory today. So, Anthony, what made the difference out there today?
Well, I honestly feel it was down to the driver and car today. I mean, we can talk driver skill all day, but if you don't have a solid team to back that, you're never going to get anywhere. When you hit that sweet spot of having both an excellent driver and an incredible car, that's when you see results like those we witnessed today.
And here we are, a team that is no stranger to the podium, taking their place on top once again. A sublime race today, and a stunning win for Ferrari.
So the top 3 of our British Grand Prix is Charles Leclerc, Lewis Hamilton and Lando Norris, surprisingly. So yeah, a great job for those guys. Of course, we didn't do as well in this Grand Prix as we had our third DNF of the season. Let's just hope not many DNFs follow. Of course, when you put in new components, they have a much higher chance of failing, but hopefully that doesn't happen in Austria. So for this episode, let's just see where Liam finished, as he has hopefully finished this Grand Prix. The durability of our car is not good at all, so maybe we need to have a look at our engine supplier for next season, but let's not get too quick to that, as we are not even halfway in the season. Liam actually finished in P19, so nothing surprisingly happened. Of course, Lance Stroll had the DNF as well, but yeah, nothing surprisingly, as I said. The rivalry, yeah, I'm not gonna win that, as we are already 11 points behind in a 30 points rivalry, and the team acclaim is staying the same mostly, so it's still a third sponsor for us next episode. And our cash from our sponsor that we have already is almost at 150k. So I don't know if this is a bug or if this is the usual, but the bonus that I get is always getting higher and higher. It started around 110 and is already 130k, so I don't know if that is some bug or not, but it's really good for us. But that was it, guys, for this episode. If you haven't seen last episode or last video, you can check it out right now. And don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next episode. Goodbye.